Let's go. All right. Today's Bible verse is coming from chapter 37 of Job, verses 5 and 6. I'm going to read them to you and then I'm going to give you the context because you got to know the context and you got to feel the whole section. So we're going to be reading verses 1 through 13, but 5 and 6 is kind of like the catalyst for why we're here today. So let's go ahead and knock this out, right? So verse 5 says, God thunders wondrously with his voice. He does great things that we cannot comprehend. For to the snow, he says, fall on the earth. Likewise to the downpour, his mighty downpour also has to follow his lead. I know sometimes when we think of Christ, the Messiah, Jesus, aka Yeshua, of course it's his Hebrew name, a lot of us don't really understand the full power of his name. He is the Word incarnated into flesh so that man can touch and feel and see him and all these other wondrous things. But he has always been, because the Father always had his voice. He spoke many things into being, and many of these things we do not comprehend. Yet we have people out here with master degrees and doctorate degrees and books of theology that makes us think that we can really comprehend everything that there is to the Messiah, to Jesus the Christ, to Yeshua the Christ. Well, let me remind you, the Father still is doing things we cannot comprehend. There are things on earth we don't even understand. Like yesterday I was watching this video and it was talking about how like these electrical fireballs they don't know how to really explain what they are. They just know that when a couple of things get together, they turn into these fireballs or these electric balls that kind of dance around. And many people want to even call them fake because they also cannot explain it. Isn't it amazing that when humanity cannot explain the rhythm and the mystery of God, they try to deny that it exists and make you think that you're crazy because you see something that they cannot explain? Remember when they thought the world was flat, or that they think it's round, or that they think they can land on the moon and all these other things? I'm not here to argue any of those points. I'm just saying, when we have a limited perspective, a limited view, it's hard to really understand an all-consuming God. Wouldn't you think? I mean, he says his ways are higher than our ways. So what makes us think that we really know his way? What makes us really think we know all that there is to God? What? Because we read some things in this book that makes us feel like we're experts? Let me remind you, we are forever to be students because we will never be greater than our master. So if you'll never be greater than your master, what makes you think you no longer have to study? What? Because you can quote every verse in the Bible that makes you all-knowing? What? Because you think you can control the weather, that makes you equivalent to God? You think God has an opposite? You really think the devil is the opposite to God? When he's beneath him, he's also the created, and the Father is still creating. If he is the great almighty creator, what makes us think that he's not still creating galaxies and universes? What? Because we can't see them? How superficial is our knowledge? How simple are we really? How much we really don't know and don't get about the Most High, that we really think because we cannot see and perceive it, it is not real? I mean, this is the one that spoke stuff into being. You, through the Messiah, through the one we think we know so well. He did all these things through that one, and yet we even belittle his importance. We think he's just our ace coon boon. He's just our brother and our mother in a time of need. You know, he's just our needed thing. And when we don't need him no more, we can just throw him away. But let me remind you, he is still the mouthpiece, the word of the Most High. What makes us think that that's all we need him for? I mean, he says we are to live and breathe through the Messiah. You know, we do not live off bread alone, but from every word from the Most High. What do you think that means? Is that just how you live? But it should also be how you reason, how you see life, how you see your wife, how you see your husband, how you see your children. It is an all-consuming fire. His knowledge is infinite. And even if we study every day of our life, we cannot exhaust him. We cannot even exhaust the Christ. We cannot even figure out everything that is meant in this Bible in our lifetime. Because every time we read it, we get new revelation. How is that possible unless God is so much bigger than our understanding, so much bigger than our problems? But we say, oh, God is so finite. You know, he really doesn't understand this intricate example. We really think that everything under the sun was not covered in this Bible in some shape or fashion, or that we are going through something so unique that God doesn't really have a response for it yet. So we're going to find our own answers and hope for the best. Well, let me remind you who you're talking to. You are talking to the one that talks to the snow. You are talking about the one that talks to the worlds and galaxies and things we cannot see with a natural eye. We're talking about the one that created humanity and knew the timing of its fall and knew how he was already going to reconcile it at the beginning before there was anything. This is the one that spoke into a void of darkness. This is how great the great I am really is. Like, he really is all knowing, in case we forgot. In case we think because we have this technology, this, or a demon taught us that, or we got this or that now we are equivalent to God in some way because we have this knowledge. Because we say knowledge is power, right? But knowledge is what caused Adam and Eve to fall. It was the knowledge, the hunger for this knowledge that cost us our position in humanity on earth. We were supposed to have dominion, and we gave dominion away to the enemy. Because he knew something that we already knew that he repackaged and say we didn't know. How many of us are buying things right now because someone is repackaging something we already know, but we don't want to do it? If we just do what he tells us to do, you know how much money we could save? You know how much time we could save? You know how much better our life could really be if we just practice what we say we believe? All right. Let's focus on this, right? Because if I keep talking, we might not get back to it. Okay, we are still in Job 37. Now, I'm going to read verse 1, and I'm going to go to 13, and then I might break a few things down on the way, but I just want to put all this in context so that you can get the energy that I'm feeling when I read this, because it's exciting. It's exciting. All right, let's go. At this, also my heart trembles and leaps out of its place. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Keep listening to the thunder of his voice and the rumbling that comes from his mouth. See, some of us are used to the silent, quiet, still voice because it makes us feel warm and cozy. It doesn't feel threatening. It makes us feel like God is like just this, this soft raindrop falling on a leaf and the dew that goes across the grass. It gives us this light and airy and fun, almost fog-like feeling where we can just go singing in the rain and there's nothing that's going to stop our day. In fact, he is here to cheer us on even if we're going the wrong way. Oh no. Under the whole heaven he lets it go, and his lightning to the corners of the earth. After it his voice roars. Let us not forget that our God knows how to war. Like, we're not the only ones that have figured out the recipe on how to take out our enemies. This is the God of the Old Testament too. And he eradicated some stuff, some people he erased off the face of the earth to never, ever have an heir or a legacy. And yet we forget that when we do the things that we do, assuming we'll have another chance because he is all merciful. And surely this merciful God, this God of grace, this God of love will not kill anything. I mean, how can he do that if he is loving? Okay. He thunders with his majestic voice, and he does not restrain the lightning when his voice is heard. Do we really know all that there is to lightning? I mean, just because we can make it happen with harp and all this stuff, do we really understand? Because man can mimic some things. I don't know if y'all know about the story of Egypt when there was these magicians that could mimic the things of Moses. And when they were mimicking the things of Moses, they may look like equals. It may look like they're the same and they got the same power. But let me tell you about the snake. You see, when Moses threw his staff down, it reconfigured into a snake. And then when the magicians did the same thing, it made a snake too. But let me remind you, the snake of Moses ate the snake of the magicians. When they turned the water into a red substance, and it wasn't necessarily blood like it was for Moses. So when the Father does something, his stuff is potent. When he makes lightning happen, you don't know what else is going on in the lightning. All you see is the light. So people think, oh, I'm going to mimic the light, and therefore my light is equivalent to his light. My knowledge is equivalent to his knowledge. Well, let me remind you that man fell because they thought that if it looked right, that it is right. Let me remind you that his ways are greater than our ways. His truths go deeper. He said the deep calleth unto the deep. So if you want to be deep, you're going to have to get on a level with him that allows him to trust you with his deep. Or you ain't going to get it. You're going to have some glimmery glitter. And people are going to say, oh, it's gold dust. No, baby, that's just glitter. It's just glitter. Okay, let's keep going. 5, God thunders wondrously with his voice. He does great things that we cannot comprehend. Oh my. There are so many things I cannot comprehend. Some people will ask, why me? Some people ask, why now? Some people say, well, Father, the world is so jacked up. How can you save it? How can you deliver us? How can you reverse a curse? How can you restore a nation? How can you take them from the east, north, south, and the west and put them back in the land that they can't even call their name? How do they even know where they come from? History is so messed up. We don't even know where the real maps are. We don't even really know where real property boundaries are. We don't even know if the maps we reading is even accurate anymore. And they haven't been accurate for centuries. All we know is what they've told us. We've been conditioned to believe so many lies by his story that we don't even know what your story is. We don't even know how much of this Bible was influenced. But we know your power, though. We know that you are able to take us from glory to glory, that whatever you say will come to pass. We know that whatever you establish here on earth is not going anywhere. Even if the enemy comes and sows seeds of discourse and lies and untruths. Father, we know that the facts do not supersede your truth. But do we believe it? Do we believe that he's really going to do what he say he's going to do? Or do we want to believe that we are only going to be as good as the people that have already lied to us? That have already told us you're not worth nothing. That's already told us that, the world is about to come to a blazing end and it's all over. Do we really want to believe the people that tell us we are now in the days of revelation and it's now in the end, when the Father said the first will be last and the last will be first? Where is that? Where are some of the things that are already in play? Where is Genesis 13? Where are these promises that the Father made? Where is the promise of Isaiah where he says, I'm going to gather my people? It didn't say that humanity was going to gather his people, that a boat was going to go get his people. It didn't give man instructions on how he was going to do a thing on purpose so that man cannot manipulate his people. But he did say, even the very elect can be misled, could be confused, could be on the wrong side if they don't know my spirit. You see, a lot of us have been faking the funk for so long, we don't even know we're not saved. Because we look like the church. We act like the church. We pick up our Bible on the weekends. We kind of sort of pray. We kind of sort of do worship enough to look like we got the ghost. But then we realize when it comes time to what we really believe, we don't look much different than the world. We don't do things much different than the world. Our church don't look much more different than a corporation. A lot of the things we do don't look like him, don't look like our Father. And this is what he was talking about in Revelation when he was talking about the churches, the ones that had the first love and lost it. All of them had a problem, though. And how do you think all of them had a problem? Okay, yeah, we're going to keep going. 6. For to the snow, he says, fall on the earth, likewise to the downpour, his mighty downpour. He seals up the hand of every man. Seals up the hand of every man? Dang. That sounds like he can take the very thing or stop or block or interfere with man's agendas, societal agendas, corporation agendas, governmental agendas. He can seal the hand of every man. Presidents, popes, prophets, liars, teachers, pastors. Okay, that all men whom he made may know it. He wants you to know he's God. See, we've been looking for these miraculous manifestations and all of these things. And I'm not saying that these things are not happening, but when they don't happen on a wide view to where the world may be exposed to it, because a lot of these things are hidden on purpose anyway. Even if it was done on a large view, they will quarantine all those people and say, you didn't see what you thought you saw. And if you go report this, then okay. My point is, some of the stuff that the Father does, no man can deny it. It is undeniable. Then the beasts go into their lairs and remain in their dens. Dang. The Father is so brolic that he will make the beast go into their lairs and remain in their dens. Why? Because they're running. Running from what? Running from whom? They're running from his judgments and his voice and his correction. From its chamber comes the whirlwind and cold from the scattering winds. By the breath of God, ice is given and the broad waters are frozen fast. The Father knows how to freeze time. He knows how to freeze what we call progress. He knows how to freeze some things. Y'all, we talk about the dark ages, but do you know why they were here? Do you know why they exist? We talk about the ice age, but nobody considers where that came from. Why? Dinosaurs ain't here no more, y'all. There's some things that ain't here no more and won't come back. And y'all think he can't correct humanity? Fallible people, little bitty midgets, that look like this. Probably him from heaven. I mean, come on now. Come on, let's reason together. I love that verse. Let's reason together. He loads the thick cloud with moisture. The clouds scatter his lightning. See, we try to explain that with science, photosynthesis and how not constipation. Oh Lord, that's the wrong thing. Basically the concept of how water gathers in the clouds, comes down in rain, and then rain is absorbed through through humidity and stuff like that, goes back to the clouds. That's our explanation. That's the world, the man's view of explanation, because we try to figure it out. We use logic, because logic makes sense to humanity, but it ain't always right. Just because it sounds like, have y'all really heard of Darwin's theory? Evolution, come on now, Brad. They said a dolphin turned into a dog to a dolphin. Why? Why? Some things is such a stretch. To me, that takes more than faith. All right, but we ain't arguing evolution and creation. That's a whole another topic. Let me get back to this. Okay, we almost done. They turn around and around by his guidance to accomplish all that he commands them on the face of the habitable world. And this is 13. Whether for correction or for his land or for love, he causes it to happen. You see, there are things that the Father does, and we don't know why he does it. We don't know if it's for his love or if it's for his correction. And in his case, correction can also be out of love, because he says, those whom I love, I chastise, I correct. So if he's correcting you, you need to figure out why he's correcting you. Is he correcting me because he loves me? Is he correcting me because he hates me? He says, Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated. So yes, the Father does hate some folks. He does. Come on, man. We want to use scripture to do everything than to make Yah who he really is. And he is partial to some things. And we don't know always why. Yes, we can say it's because of something Esau did, because that's the easy thing to do. We can say, do you know that the Pharaoh whom he called, he said he made him worse. He said he made his neck even more stiff so that he can bring a judgment on Egypt. But do you know what he did with the Pharaoh after that? Do you know what happened to the Pharaoh? Because he didn't die in the ocean. He didn't die from the Red Sea. The Red Sea did not gobble up the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh ended up actually being redeemed. And when he was redeemed, do you know what he went to go do? He went to go lead Nineveh. Ain't that crazy? Nineveh. The man that caused all this pain to the Egyptians. You would have thought that the Father would have surely killed him. Shouldn't he have hated the Pharaoh? Because didn't he cause all this chaos in his time frame? And then his ancestors do all this mess. And yet the Father saved him and gave him to Nineveh. And then when Nineveh became so hellish, he sent Jonah to then redeem Nineveh. Do we ever really think, can we ever really understand why the Father does what he does? Why does the Father save a people that don't want him? Why does the Father go through all of this to redeem us, to bring us back to him when we don't deserve it? Why did the Father send his Son out of heaven to come here and dwell on earth to deal with crazy man, to redeem us from something we brought on ourselves? We sin willfully. Many of us are not tricked and seduced into sin. Many of us choose it automatically. We were born and shaped in iniquity. So it don't take much to convince us to go left if we really want to go left. It's amazing. We don't have to be taught to sin, but we have to be taught to obey God. What? In the garden, that was automatic. And now what was automatic is now a challenge. And it's a grave challenge. Many of us fail. Many of us never get it right. Many of us want to get it right. Even Paul says the things that I want to do, I don't do, but the things I don't want to do, I do. And what is that the evidence of? Sin. Sin is real. Sin is in the earth. All men are capable of sinning. But let me tell you something that's so good about God. Is God knew that man struggled with sin. In fact, he's seen it for a while. And still seeing it, to be honest. But he said, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. Because they're killing animals, they burning sacrifices, they're doing all these things to atone for the sins that they're doing, but their hearts are still very, very far from me. I need to find a way to impart more of my nature in my people. I don't want them just to have words that remind them of me, which is still the Messiah. I need the Messiah to be present in their inner man. I need to put my word on their heart so they don't sin against me. And if they do, they know it. They're convicted by it. The children of the Most High, even if they live in raggedy lives, know that they called to be a child of the Most High because you're convicted. It's on your heart. It's there. And it's up to you to start saying, you know what, Father, I love you so much because you first loved me. You loved me when I was a sinner. You love me even though I still may sin. You love me even when I fall off the wagon. You love me because you love me because I don't deserve it. And we know that Yah is love. That's what the Bible teaches us, that the Father is love. So to be with him is to have love more abundantly and constantly. And this is why all things are endurable, because he is all powerful. He says what is impossible with man is possible with God, and what's possible with him. He says we don't get what we ask for because we ask amiss. Some of us are asking for peace. Some of us are asking for shalom. Some of us are asking for things that we think we need, but what we really need is love. What we really need is love. And who is love? The Most High. You need him. If you didn't need him, he would not have sent his son down here for you. He would not have done it if you didn't need it. We're talking about the Father of fathers. Fathers of fathers. He says, if you ask for bread, why would I give you a serpent or a snake or a stone? I'm better than that. Even your father, your natural father, knows how to give you the things that they ought to give you so that you may be equipped to live this life. So why would the Father of lights not do the same? But we know that there are reprobate sons and daughters that even when their father does all this to provide for them, give them an inheritance, give them a legacy, give them a house, give them this, give them all the things that they need for this life, there are still many that would choose to turn away from an amazing and miraculous and incomprehensible gift. But I want to remind you, if you need a gift of love, then you do need the Messiah. Then you do need his voice. You do need him. And I encourage you to go find him. I encourage you to search your heart, to search your mind, to search your existence, to search your life and say, wow, Father, she's right. I do need you. And I need you now. I need you now. I don't know why you need him. I don't know if it's bill related. I don't know if it's spiritual related. I don't know if it's your marriage or your children or whatever. It might be depression. It might be feeling anxious. It might be anxiety. It's things that are showing you that you are ill-equipped for this life without him. But I want to tell you, he is the answer. He is the answer. He has the answers to all your prayers, all your concerns, all your questions. So let him fill you. So as he fills you, I bet you won't be the same. You won't be the same. So may you be blessed, may you be encouraged, and may you be challenged in the right way. Challenged to do better. And you do better with his hand, with his help. And he's here to help you and to guide you. So may you be blessed. I'm Dr. Krystal Lee, a.k.a. Author K. Lee. Shalom, shalom, and bye-bye for now.